All right, we're going to do a morning show here tonight. Today, President Trump. This is actually some national news. I want to talk about this, start the show off. It's called the SAVE Act, and it is so important that this gets passed. This has got to get passed in the legislature. Let me give you a little rundown. First of all, what did Trump say? Trump said that Americans' elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. We are either going to fix them or we don't have a country any longer. The SAVE Act, all voters must show voter identification. That's number one. Number two, all voters must show proof that they are a United States citizen. That's kind of important. And number three, there will be no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel, that kind of thing. So in a nutshell, the SAVE Act says this. Number one, in order to register to vote, you got to prove that you're a U.S. citizen. 2 thumbs up on that. Then, to vote, you have to show your legal ID, like a driver's license. You got to show that when you go to vote. Number 3, you can't do any more of the mail-in ballots. And this is where all the fraud has been taking place, in the mail-in ballots. That's going to be wiped away unless you have a severe disability, you're a military overseas. There'll be a couple exceptions to the rule, not much. But unless those, it's not like what we're doing in Ohio now, where we mail out to everybody saying, hey, would you like us to mail you a ballot? Send this envelope back to us and we'll send you a ballot. We do that in Ohio. So we don't have the gold standard. That's BS, okay? That is BS. There is fraud going on in Ohio elections, period. Please believe me when I say that. Now, it may not be as rampant in like Georgia. Georgia, I am so disappointed in the state of Georgia because those people, it is such a poorly run state. It boggles my mind. But there were some journalists, YouTube journalists out there, they were showing an abandoned house. And this abandoned house, all boarded up, has 19 registered voters there. 19. And in Georgia, they send out these applications to all registered voters. So somebody is ballot harvesting 19 of them from just that one location saying, yeah, send me a ballot. They'll get 19 ballots sent. They'll fill them all out. That's ballot harvesting. That's what's going on with the mail-in ballots. The SAVE Act would stop that. The second thing the SAVE Act would do is it would make sure that illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them, they're illegal, cannot vote. You have to show ID. The other issue I have in Ohio is when you do mail-in ballots, you do not show ID. And this just rocks my brain. Because when I vote in person, which I almost always do, I'll go right to the polling location on the day of election and I'll vote. I just like doing that. I have to go there and show them my ID, my driver's license, and they'll match up the signature and everything. But if I vote by mail, that gets bypassed. The only form of identification when you vote by mail is the last 4 digits of a Social Security number. So this is where all the fraud is also taking place with the mail-in ballots, because these illegals have the last 4 digits of a Social Security number. They have that. And the Democrats have found a way to cheat the system. It's not rocket science, okay? So we've got to stop it. We got to get the SAVE Act passed. Now, what's happening with the SAVE Act? Well, it's a Republican-backed bill aimed at enhancing election integrity, as we've just said. President Donald Trump is a very vocal proponent of it, of course. He's very, very much a proponent of it. He's threatening. He is threatening to primary anyone who doesn't vote for it. Now, the SAVE Act has already passed the House. And that was a vote of 220 to 208. So it easily passed the House, which is good. So Anna Paulina Luna and Speaker Mike Johnson are two real big proponents for the SAVE Act. But the important thing there is it's already gotten through the House, and it had bipartisan support, which means that some Democrats voted for it. There are Democrats that want voter ID. You know, it's just the upper echelon of the Democratic Party that is saying we can't do this, like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is one of those characters that is saying, hey, we can't do this. Okay. This right here, I want to show you this. This is Chuck Schumer in his earlier days. He's been in Congress so long. But what's interesting is he is saying that the number one reason people come to the United States, and this was back in 1996, the number one reason is because they want to defraud the system like Social Security. And he is saying, I want to stop that. And so we have an honest Chuck Schumer for a change. Thank God for that. So we got to get the SAVE Act passed. Now, there is a filibuster I want you to be aware of, that the filibuster option, okay? So here's how it works. Right now, in order to get the SAVE Act passed, we got to get 60 votes in the Senate. If we get 60 votes, it passes. Unfortunately, there's only 53 Republicans in the Senate. So you're not going to get the 60 votes because the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, has already said we are not going to vote for the SAVE Act. Now think about that a minute. This is an act to make sure, this is a bill to make sure that we don't have any fraudulent elections. And they're like, nah, we ain't going to do that. We're not going that far. As a matter of fact, what Schumer says is that there's already existing laws that prohibit anybody who's not a U.S. citizen from voting. So we already have laws that prohibit it. We don't need another law. If you already have laws that prohibit it, and you're in favor of those laws, Chuck Schumer, what's the problem with having another law just to make sure nothing falls through the cracks? By the way, those are very, very big cracks that everything is falling through, okay? But Schumer will not do it. So there is the filibuster option, just so you're aware of that. What that entails is we can vote a simple 51 majority to get the SAVE Act if we take it to the House floor. However, the Democrats can do what is called a filibuster, and they can literally talk forever if they want to. But there are some rules involved in this. The first rule is that if it's a continuous legislative session, that each Democratic senator can only speak twice. Now, there's 47 of them, so they could each speak twice, as long as they can speak for as long as they want. Well, you say, Joe, that could go on forever. Not necessarily, because they have to stand at the podium. They have to be continuously speaking. They're not allowed to take breaks or anything. So you're not going to be up there. Some of these people are pretty elderly that are in Congress on the Democratic side. How long can they stand at the podium and just talk? I mean, if they go 5-6 hours, that's probably the maximum for a lot of them. Okay? So you got 47 of them. Each could talk twice. The record, the longest anyone has ever spoken is Cory Booker. He did it for 25 hours straight, which is insane. But he's the only one who's done it. One other guy did it for 24 hours. I forget who it was. But no one else has come close to that. Because you got to think about it. After about 10 hours of standing at the podium and talking about a stupid bill, you're going to go insane. You're going to have to take a break. You're just going to say the hell with it. And some of these Congress people are really elderly. They're not going to be able to do it. Plus, they have to speak coherently on this subject, and they got a lot of Democrats that wouldn't be able to speak coherently on this subject. So anyhow, how long would it go? My calculation is if everybody spoke 10 hours, which is not going to happen, but if everyone spoke 10 hours and they did 2 turns of speaking 10 hours, it would take 5.5 weeks. After that 5.5 weeks, closure happens. Once closure happens, you take an up or down vote, 51 votes, and it would become law. So it's really, if you want to save the country, if you want to make sure that we win in the midterms, if you want to make sure that Trump is not a lame duck president for the next 2 years, you got to put in 5.5 weeks. Yeah, it would be tough on the Congress, okay, because they got to hang out there for 5.5 weeks. They don't have to necessarily be in that same room, but they got to be close by. But still, they don't have to be in that room. They can go out of the room. They could eat. They could rest. It's just that when the Democrats finally, after how many weeks, it has to be continuous too, by the way. So that means it's got to go on all day, all night. It never stops. But once the Democrats do finally stop, then you have to get everybody together quickly and you do a vote. And it would become a law at that point. So yeah, the Congress, poor little baby Congress, these men and women who have such a cushy life and cushy job, yeah, they might have to set aside 5.5 weeks with an inconvenience, but they could manage. It wouldn't be that hard. And they would save the country. Let's just see if they can do it. John Thune doesn't seem to want to do that because he's like, oh, that's going to put too much of a burden on everybody. I don't know if I want to do that. You could save the country, you idiot. You can save the country if you just do it. I don't know if I want to do it. Okay. Let's see what else is happening here in Ohio. Of course, we've got to demand voter ID. Also, Governor DeWine here is using fear tactics to stop the abolishment of property taxes. DeWine spoke in Columbus, and he was saying that a sales tax could go 17, 18, 19, 20% high in the state of Ohio on products that you buy, DeWine said. So it would be absolutely devastating. This is him. And here's a picture of our beloved governor right there. I mean, I just cannot tolerate this guy any longer. How much longer do we have to put up with him? How much freaking longer do we have to put up with this guy? He's never worked a real job in his life. He's been a politician his whole life. He doesn't know what it's like. He's got a beautiful pension. He doesn't have to worry about property taxes. He's got millions and millions and millions. I don't even know what his net worth is, but it's way up there, okay? He is so out of touch. And what he cares about is the donor base. Hurting the donors base or hurting the teachers union. But the property taxes, we've done three property tax panel question and answer sessions. We're going to do more. We're going to try to do one every single month. Like this was the last one we did, abolish property taxes. This was out at Concord, Ohio, Concord at the Auburn Career Center. It was really good. We had about 60, 70 people that showed up. It was very good. But the property taxes are, they're killing us, especially if you're on, let's say, Social Security. You can't afford them anymore. These property taxes have skyrocketed, and there's no need for it. The state is supposed to be paying for the schools, which is 70% of your property tax bill. They are supposed to be paying for it. They've put the burden locally on all of us to fund the schools. They need to fund the schools, and not by raising a sales tax, which is what a DeWine would do, because he doesn't think outside the box. He doesn't look at the fact that we have welfare fraud. We have Medicaid fraud. I mean, how much Medicaid fraud do you think we have? If Minnesota's got $20 billion, how much do you think Ohio has? I mean, we got to have at least $5 to $10 billion in Medicaid fraud. We've got to. With all the daycare centers, the Somalian-run ones, 99% of those are fraudulent. Then you've got phony health care facilities, phony daycare facilities, phony home health care facilities. Everybody is scamming Medicaid. So you start utilizing oversight, or you don't fund these projects. Why is it that we got to fund them? So there's waste, fraud, and abuse that can be chopped away. Another thing that people don't consider very often is if you're not paying property taxes, that's money that could be going back into buying products. So your sales tax revenue is going to increase. They're just not even thinking outside the box because they're politicians. They're on a gravy train. They like all the property tax money that's coming into their coffers. So if you talk to any auditors, any county commissioners, any treasurers, they're going to give you the fear tactic, the fear mongering, that this is just going to devastate the state of Ohio. It will not. It'll actually make us great. It'll make Ohio great again. But the bottom line, guys, is we are the voters. And if we say it's too expensive, then it's too expensive. And they got to start cutting and doging. And you know, we hold the cards, all right? We have to realize that we hold the cards, not the state government. They're going to make you believe that you can't survive without these exorbitant property taxes, which are never going to go down. They're never going to go down. There's going to be another spike in property tax payments. And there'll be another one after that, and another one after that. So where do you draw the line? Where do you stop? We have to stop now. Your house is your greatest asset. And if you're like me, you paid it off. Great. God bless you. But it's not really paid off because now you got to pay $2,000 every 6 months, $3,000 every 6 months. Like I'm in a very high taxed bracket in Cleveland Heights. I don't have a big house, but the property taxes are outrageous. So I got to pay like $3,000 every 6 months. That's crazy. To the local community so that I can keep my house. I thought I paid it off. So this all has to change, and change it will. Okay. Let me see what else is happening here in the news real quick this morning. There is a data center that's going up. Maybe did I pass that up? Let me just see here a second. I thought there was a data center that was going up here in Ohio. Let me just see real quick, and I'll get. Well, that's DeWine using the property tax. I thought I had it. Couldn't find it, but there is a Marysville data center that's going to be going up in Ohio, $1 billion data center. And with the problems, that we have with the data centers here in Ohio is, number one, they don't pay any taxes, no property taxes for 15 years. They don't pay any sales tax on any of the construction of the data center, which would, again, be a lot of money flowing locally into the community. That's not happening. They don't employ many people. The one in Marysville is going to employ less than 100 people. Like 75 people. 75 people. You got more than that at Taco Bell down the street, for crying out loud. So these are massively huge facilities that Google and Amazon and all these other companies, Microsoft, and who knows who else, are these trillion-dollar companies are just scarfing up the land here in Ohio, and they're going to make a fortune, and we're not getting anything out of it. So those data centers, a lot of people, I was reading the comments and stuff, a lot of people are like fed up with the data centers because they're starting to realize that the phoniness of this. And one other thing that you might not realize about the data centers is it doesn't go through the state legislature. State legislature in Ohio does not vote on these data centers. It's a different entity altogether. It's some kind of a group that's set up by the governor. They make the decisions, and they say yay or nay. See, these types of organizations that bypass the state legislature, they've got to be abolished because they have way too much power. But they're the ones that say yes or no. And, the data centers, they're just popping up. We got over, 2,200 of them, I think, in Ohio. 2,200. It's all AI, and I don't know what else they're doing. I want to just end with one last thing here. The Samantha and Nancy Guthrie case that's going on. I find it absolutely fascinating. I mean, my heart goes out to the fact that an 84-year-old woman was kidnapped. But it's so intriguing, the storyline behind everything. I find it, everybody does. Everybody is just enthralled with it. But I do have one thought. And I'm sure people have lots and lots of thoughts, but this is what came to me was There was blood inside the house, and there was blood outside the house. And there was blood droplets that go from the front of the door about 10 feet out, and then they just stop. So that's where the car would have been parked. They must have put her into the car at that point and took off because the blood just stops. And I was thinking to myself, well, that takes a lot of guts to pull your car all the way up to within 10 feet of the house. I know you think you disconnected the security ring phone, ring camera on the front and back of the house, but how do you know they don't have another security camera somewhere? I know people that have multiple security cameras in their front yard. Multiple. How do you know there's not another one somewhere? And if there was, your goose is cooked. They got all the information they need on you. But to pull your car that close right up to the house, just kind of, I don't know. I have problems with that. It's got to be an inside job is what I'm saying. I think it's an inside job. But we'll see how that all unravels, too. Hey, have yourself a great day, and God bless. We'll be talking to you soon, okay? Have a good one. Take care. See